Welcome. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're at Virginia State University's 2024 homecoming. This is the homecoming edition of ISTWA. So I'd like to welcome my guests that are here, but before I welcome them, just tell you a little bit about the show so you understand about the show. ISTWA embarks on a journey of discovery, empathy, and the celebration of enlightening discussion as we celebrate the rich tapestry of human experience and explore how our cultural roots and career paths intertwine to shape our identities and the purpose in life. Not just this episode, but all the episodes of ISTWA promise to inspire, educate, and empower listeners to embrace their heritage and pursue their passions with purpose. We're talking about your cultural upbringings and how it shaped you who you are today. Let's talk about these stories. This is the homecoming edition of ISTWA. So the music is going to roll. Bomb. It's going to roll. That's right. All right, so here we go. So look, gentlemen, thank you so much for being available. I'm not going to say who you are, what you do. I know we went to school together, but one by one, tell me your name, who you are, and what you do. Start with Chad.
All right, Chad Mensah, originally from Brooklyn, New York, by way of Ghana, Africa. Currently, I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I work and live in Hampton, Virginia. I have an outpatient practice, and I also have a community-based agency where I provide therapy. I have several staff, about 9 or 10. We provide intensive in-home, mental health skill building, and outpatient therapy via virtual or at the office to pretty much adults and children in the community.
That's what's up.
It's all about uplifting and, leaning into all of the people who have been impacted by the pandemic and, neighborhoods and just their whole situations.
Perfect time for a business to run like that. Not a quality, but it's perfect because it's what we're dealing with.
Exactly.
Right. Brother
Kirk Mensah, older brother of Chad Mensah, also from Brooklyn, New York, by way of Ghana, West Africa. I live in Lower Maryland, work for the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development as the director of the Single Family Post Insurance Division, and I'm also an inventor. Product coming soon.
That's what's up. And you notice that he said he's the older brother. That's a syndrome of when people used to beat up their little brother. Yes. I don't know exactly what happened, but we can talk about that. The next man.
Hey, I'm Kerwin Superville by way of Trinidad and Tobago, half Dominican, and by way of New York, Queens, New York. I am currently in Atlanta, Georgia. I deal with subsidized housing, manage a lot of high-rises, and dealing with seniors, young, and disabled.
Basically, he's rich. Rich. And when he was in school, I didn't know that he was half Dominican.
Right.
Go check those records.
That's news.
Yeah, man, you next.
Johnny Babb. I was born in Costa Rica, grew up in Brooklyn, New York, currently reside in Maryland. I work in special education in D.C. I also work with adults at PG Community College, and on the side, try to get into as much real estate investment as possible.
Money. Foreigners always want money. That's the goal. So look, this question could go to anybody. We're just going to jump right in. How has your background, some of your traditions and basically influenced the work that you're in today? Like, did they have anything to do with the business and what you're doing now?
Most definitely. My mom, when she came to America and migrated from Ghana, she was a hard worker. She didn't have a degree. She didn't have any resources, but she got it from the ground up. She was cleaning homes. She knew how to save. So my mom was probably a professional saver.
Right.
Because she was able to just save and grind, and that was something that was always inspiring. So for me, having an excuse to not grind and to not try to carve out something for yourself has never been something that I looked at as a true obstacle, because I saw her do it without having the same level of resources. So looking at her being able to branch out, bring other family members over, sponsor and help get off the ground a church in Staten Island, New York, with some
African Harriet Tubman,
with some Liberians, and so the fact that she was able to do a lot with less, pretty much was the auspice for me saying, I have no excuse. If I have the ability, I need to go out and I need to grind and get it done.
Which is most foreign parents.
Right.
Did she know, did y'all discuss about what you were going to do when you came to school? Was that like a story or anything about that, or that was cool? Because the profession in which you in seems like, it's not.
Well, actually, no, I had no intention of going into the mental health field. When I was younger, I remember being in elementary. We went to this elementary school in Brooklyn called Tabernacle. You know, we had to wear the uniforms and everything. And I remember they had a career day, and one of the careers that I found pretty enlightening was garbage man. You know, because they said that they made six figures in New York. They make over 100,000. So I was like, cool. That sounds like something I could do. So I came home and I was like, yeah, we had this career day, and I think I might want to be a garbage man.
Oh my God! I doing all this money, and you want to be a garbage man?
She said, what? You will not be picking up garbage for anyone.
Did you tell how much it paid?
I did. She said, so what? That's the best you can do.
Oh my God!
And with me, she pushed me. I don't know if it was me specifically to be a doctor or lawyer.
Right.
So my first year at college, I was bio pre-med.
Oh wow! Are you serious?
Very much so.
Right.
I realized my only thing about medicine was what I saw on TV, Dr. Huxtable.
Right.
And I didn't want to go to school for 12, whatever number of years. But more importantly, I always remembered his pager.
Right.
So whatever he was doing, he had to stop to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And if I didn't want to do that, and then I realized I was going to school to be a doctor for her.
Yeah.
Not for me, I said, you know what, I have to change this.
Enlightenment.
Yeah.
Our parents bought us kits. I had a little orange kit that had doctor stuff inside of it. I had no idea. We got it for Christmas. My brother Rudy had a dentist kit. I don't know why. My youngest brother, they just gave him a police car. So like they were just like brainwashing us. None of us are in any of those fields at all.
Yeah.
What about you, sir?
Well, I would say growing up, I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but I always just liked to play school. So I felt like I didn't know what I really wanted to be. I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to be a lawyer. So I always used to play school with my cousins and brothers and sisters, and I was always the teacher. So my thing was, and I always liked to deal with fashion stuff. So I felt like I wanted to be in the fashion industry.
Right.
So I was raised by my grandparents, Ruth and Clifford. They're both deceased now, but my grandfather said, I'm not paying for nothing for fashion. So I said, well, I guess be a teacher. That's fine. So I came to Virginia State. My major was elementary education. Then I changed it because I had to take some classes that I was like, I'm not going to pass that.
Right.
So I did not pursue that, but I ended up doing sociology education. And then further in going on to my master's in guidance and counseling. So I ended up, working in the school system as a guidance counselor. Then property management fell in my lap, and I said, you know what? They didn't have a career, like a set career that they were doing. They were always bouncing off of stuff. So that's where I'm at now, and that's why I'm in property management, helping people because it's what they really like to do.
Right.
My grandparents would come down here, drive from New York, or sometimes we'll pick my grandfather from the airport in his suitcase.
Now this is still the grandfather that
you imitated
with the stomach.
Did I even Thanksgiving?
And I was talking about his stomach like that.
Yes, you met him.
And he still got the picture. So
yep, I still have the picture. But he used to come here on a Saturday with a big suit, not even a big suitcase, but a big iron pot. And a change of iron pot. Yes. And he would cook for everybody. Johnny would pick him up from the airport sometimes. And, my grandparents were hardworking.
That's what's up.
Grandmother brought 44 of us into this country at one time. How she did it, I don't know.
That's the story of all foreigners. If a foreigner can't tell you that their family member, one or two came in, and then that's how they got everybody in. And that was the foundation. That's how we got people here.
Exactly.
So we never had conversations about college growing up, and my senior year in high school, I visited VSU for homecoming, and I said I've never seen that many black people together in a positive light ever. So that's where I was going. And I remember, getting accepted, packing my bag, and my mom was like, where are you going? I said to school, to college. She says, what? I said, I told you I was going. She said, no, you didn't. I said, Mom, I'm leaving tomorrow. Well, how are you going to get there? I'll figure it out.
Right. That was actually all of us,
And left with a book bag, a fan, a TV, and $20.
Oh, man.
Had to figure it out.
$20.
$20.
Yo, let me ask y'all a question. So, this is a homecoming edition. were y'all parents cool with you coming to an HBCU? I know my farm parents ain't know nothing. They didn't know anything about school. We just heard the other parents say, "Oh no, you're not going to a black school to party." Like, was it an issue?
Yeah, I don't think they were aware of what a HBCU was.
Nah,
I mean, because I really didn't even know.
Because I didn't either.
I didn't even know either. I was actually supposed to go to UMBC.
Right.
Oh, I was actually supposed to go to the University of Maryland Baltimore College for a track scholarship.
Right.
And then something happened at the last minute. I went and visited the campus, and the coach told me the scholarship fell through, and I was actually relieved. I'm like, I do not want to run as a setback for me to be able to go to school.
Yeah.
So Kirk called me. He was like, "Look, I got an option for you. Virginia State is like the 13th grade." I was like, I'm pulling up.
Yes.
I'm pulling up. And when I came on campus, I was like blown with just the differences in the culture and diversity. I'm like, wow, this is it.
This next level.
That was my first experience into a HBCU experience. So for me, it was like enlightening. Like, wow. Folks from DC aren't the same from folks from New York. Folks from Cali ain't the same, but growing up in Brooklyn, you just had the diversity in terms of the islands and the Caribbeans, so seeing folks from different parts of the country, I'm like, wow.
It was dope.
It was really dope.
I went to school in West Virginia before I came here. I came here by mistake. Like, I had a football scholarship. We drove 10 hours out in the middle of Lord knows the racism that we used to see and face. And after that first year, I was like, my roommate at the time, my late roommate, I was like, yo, I'm out. And then I called my boys from high school, and some were in school here from Jersey, and I was like, I'm coming to state. So when I transferred, my parents had nothing to do with like my paperwork or anything. They was like, where are you going now? I was like, school in Virginia. They was like, okay.
That was it.
Packed my stuff and transferred across state lines and went straight to Virginia State.
Almost the same thing for me. I went to school in Kansas, track scholarship.
Right.
And I only went home twice, Christmas and then the summertime.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what, this school is too far. UVA and Virginia State was contacting me and said, whoever calls me back first is where I'm going.
Right.
I had no idea Virginia State was an HBCU. And going to that CWI first, I don't know if I would have came here.
Right.
But I'm glad this is the choice I made.
Facts, man. Yep.
Period.
Yeah, I had no clue about HBCUs. I was in New York in high school.
Right.
My uncle, who's from Long Island,
PS 122.
PS 123. My uncle lived in Long Island. His daughter was going here at Virginia State, so they said they were doing a college tour.
Right.
So I'm thinking we're just going on a college tour, and that's it.
Yeah.
Didn't know I had to pick a college that I wanted to go to. I thought you just go where your parents say you go, because my grandparents handled everything. So came on a college tour, and Virginia State, the day we came here, was storming, and everybody just seemed alive. Everywhere else we went where it rained, everything was very gloomy.
Right.
But for some reason, Virginia State, it was storming, but it was sunny. Not sunny literally, but it was like everybody had a sunny, bumpy personality. Right. I was like, you know what?
Family.
I think it's going to be this school.
Yeah.
And that was the challenge. Leaving Brooklyn engaged in the bubbliness of people in Virginia was a challenge. It was like you walking down the street, you're like, hey, how you going? What's going on?
Speaking to you.
You want to fight? Like what?
Right. Speaks to you.
It was simply people being nice, and I think that's what HBCU means, like that whole wraparound support that helped me get through.
Yo, it's so funny that you picked that out, because like at home, everybody just roughing you walking around. What's up? Yo, what's up?
What's up is like, what's up?
What's up? And being up there coming down, like, yo, these babes are really nice.
Everybody was aggressive. They're saying hello to you, but aggressively.
Right.
Like Africans do. You look pretty. You look pretty.
I'm not judging. This is just me. Like when you see Nigerians talking at a gas station, it sounds like they're arguing.
They're not. But Haitians the same way. All loud.
And I'm like, they not. And I tell my friends, like, yo, they not arguing.
See, the Trinis, they say we sing when we. They say we have a very sing song
right now.
We are very calm and mellow people.
Where you going?
Oh, the mellow people. Talking the talk.
Yo, my son goes to school. No, he's in grad school now, but he was born in New York, but was raised in Virginia, Maryland. So for some reason he didn't catch the facade of like, yo, what's up? So he didn't catch this. So he said the first time he was here, he was in the cafe. He saw this real dope chick. He said he was staring at. She's from New York, so he was just staring at her like in his mindset was Southern, but he's from New York. He said the chick looked up and was like, what happened? So he was just like, what, did something happen? He was like, no, what happened? It was like, yo, what you looking at? So he called me. I was like, bro, listen, we got to get you back home because, or don't talk to none of the northern chicks.
Right. And to your point, when people would say, what's up?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, they actually want to know.
Yeah.
That's what was kind of blown to me. I'm like, because people don't typically want to have that conversation.
Right.
What's up is usually the preset to you about to set off and do something.
Right.
So when people saying what's up with a smile, I'm like, yo, I got to get used to this. Cause I'm used to being on guard when somebody say what's up. So that felt genuine to me, and that's what Johnny, speaks to that warmth and kind of that family. I was like, I got to let my guard down here.
From a Southern gal. Yo, the funny thing was, I forgot exactly what I was about to say. What did we drink last night? So, food at the crib. I had butter, plantains, legume, rice. When we came to school here, the food in the caf was not the food that it was culture shock. Was it culture shock for y'all?
Yes, very much.
Wait, y'all ate food in the caf? No, I was from. I came with $20. I didn't have a meal plan.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't.
I snuck in the caf.
Whatever y'all brought out is what I ate.
Right. I snuck in the caf.
I just sneak in there, but the food was still like, yo, there's no rice, there's no JoJo here.
To me, the food was tasting, very bland here. So on Fridays,
no judgment, state. No judgment.
That's 30 years ago.
Right, that's 30 years ago.
Yeah,
Chick-fil-A on the ride now.
I remember I didn't have a Friday class. No, I did. It was Friday morning at 8 o'clock. And I would walk from here to the Ettrick train station to catch the train.
That walk.
So I used to
walk.
So I would go home and come back Sunday just for cooking.
Yeah, no, facts. Yeah. My mom used to come down. You ever seen those big bags, the pioneer looking ones with the colors on them? She had the big, they were not ripped from nothing. She had the big steel bomb. We call it bombs, the big pan that was in there.
Oh, that's so nice. Bobby.
She used to lug that joint all the way on the bus. She called Greyhound. I'd pick her up. I'd get one of my boys to pick her up, and she'll cook, and then everybody would just come over and eat.
Jello fries.
Jello fries.
Murdering food.
Family.
Bruh. So look. Clothes-wise, when y'all was coming down, y'all got to school here. New York and being Virginia is two different things, and culture is two different things too. I'm used to real talk. I ain't gonna lie. Like with Haitians, like we just don't. Colors ain't match. We were just wearing. I had a Gordon Gotrell shirt. It was like purple, black, and I had these MC. I thought I was looking subdued on campus. I was not.
No, the weirdest thing I used to wear, I remember when I first came to the United States, was why would I wear a sweatsuit with socks and shoes, dress shoes? I never understood. I never used to like sneakers as a kid. Everything I would wear would be with dress shoes, even if I put on shorts.
He's a foreigner.
Or sandals.
I would wear sandals with socks.
Chocolatas.
But I've expanded.
My boys still joke me till today. They'll just say, yo, why y'all always wear sandals and y'all always have dress shoes? But here's the thing, the real talk, like, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, I showed my kids this documentary about Haiti, and you saw how it was prestigious on the islands. You know, you wear suits and the women looking good. So we always thought that upper, like you had to look good all the time. And then when I started seeing people dressing like Brooklyn suit, like I was just like, they used to call in Creole, it's bum. Not a bum like you on the street. That's in bum. He said bum.
Yeah, growing up we had you had church clothes, outside clothes, party clothes. You could not wear jeans or anything to church.
You wear a bum.
Now, you know what I recall? Leaving Brooklyn, everything was Ralph Lauren, this polo, that, right?
Of course.
Our whole life, right? And down here, people went to school and classes in gray sweats, Timbs, a t-shirt,
and slides.
I remember going home for a break, and my brothers were like, "Hey, what happened to you? You used to dress, dude. I don't care anymore."
Right.
This is comfort.
Yeah, I know. the styles, the dress code between we had several. So we had being from your island, being from New York, and then coming down to Virginia and seeing the dress code was totally different, like completely different.
Assimilating,
right?
To a whole new culture.
I mean, you still had your pockets of people, New York, of course, Jersey, DC, but you're right. As folks with foreign parents, it was always, especially like going to church.
Yeah.
You could never just dress down.
No.
Right. You always had to look like going to church.
Did y'all go to church when y'all was in school? Did y'all go to the church downtown?
Really?
I was at a point where I was looking at church like this. Because when I was little, I don't know why, my aunt used to come pick me up. And we would be at church from like 10 a.m. to like 4 p.m. So I had this thing about church. I was like, bruh.
We grew up in the Catholic church.
We grew up in the Catholic church. That was the one time. I grew up in the Catholic church. That was the one time we ended up going there.
And I didn't like going to Catholic church. For one, I could never keep up with the passages.
Yeah.
I'm like, what page are they on? By the time I would find it, they'd be on to the next page. And then, even just the whole connection of it, I felt like there was a lot of
right.
The only thing I was looking forward to was sipping the wine.
I memorized all of it by the time I was in 8th grade.
you kneeling at one point, and you sitting up, you trying to figure out where you're up and down, and I'm like, yo, this is more work than anything else. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But our parents, they drove it home. Like, you really need to have church in your life. You need to believe in God, because that's going to be your pathway. That's going to be your guide.
Yeah, definitely right about that. So do you think that you are in the light of any of your parents? It's a rhetorical question, because I used to look at my dad's wallet. It was a fat wallet, right? So the whole time I'm like, I'm not gonna have my wallet. It's not gonna look crazy. My wallet, if I pull it out now, it looks just like his wallet. And I'm saying that because we look at our parents, right, and growing up, and we're in light of some of our parents. Do y'all feel like you're similar to your parents?
I watch my father wash dishes. Gets on my nerves, because he will lean over the sink and put his head on the cabinet above the sink, and he'll just be there. And then I noticed myself doing that one day.
Is that crazy?
I noticed myself asking questions I already know the answer to, and really drilling my kids and watching them getting uncomfortable. And I found that my dad, he took pleasure in that. To the point where he would post his hand up on the wall, and he'd be like, and then, well, and so you had to come up with all these different responses, knowing good well at the end of it was going to lead to an ass whooping.
You know what I'm saying? We used to, my dad used to work at this factory downtown, and we had, not even downtown, was down the street, but when we would get in trouble, they used to make us agino. Agino is you sit on your knees.
On rice? On rice?
No, you just sit on your knees.
That was on rice.
Yeah, you just hear the kids outside, or you'll be on the wall like this, like she used to just have you like this. So you would hear him come in, like he'll go through this door. The kitchen was just, it was two sides to it. He'll come in, and then they'll be in the kitchen. It's disgusting. And I was like, oh man, which side is the belt gonna come on?
Right.
Yo, he'll finish eating, you'll hear the plate clink, 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 clink. I'm like, oh God. So you start sweating, looking through each door, the belt would just come around on your hips.
For us, we had an Uncle Joe where if we didn't get certain grades in school, we had to sit on our knees and put our hands up in the air.
Yeah.
Just like this.
Torture.
And just sit there.
Torture.
On our knees.
Yeah, some of my tortures was, man, my mouth used to get me in trouble. My grandmother, she always used to say, your mouth is going to get you in trouble.
Yep.
And I remember one day I said something to her. I said, I'm going to call it immigration. She said, here's the phone. You're the first one they're taking. Well, everybody else is straight. It's you.
Our parents was just so easy going to just say whatever and do whatever. Go ahead, Joe.
Whippings were regular. Like I expected 3 a week.
Yeah.
The torture was you can't go outside.
Yes.
And
you kids playing outside.
Right. No. Beat me and send me outside, please. Let's get this over with.
That plus it was when I used to hear that folks were sent to timeout.
Right.
What is that? It's timeout. You just got. Can I get timeout?
All right.
You just got whipped. You can go to the corner and just think, oh, I can do that, and go back outside.
Right.
And it seemed like Tyler with stuff like that. I'd be like, if your friends come over, because this is what they used to say to us, if your friends come over and you ask us to take your toys out, I'm going to say yes, but when they're gone, you're going to get a beating.
His whole posture probably was like Clifford. He didn't
I always talk about him. Just Tyler would say, why are you always pointing at me when you're talking? But that's what
What do you think Clifford did?
Yo, my parents, because it was 5 of us. We had a cousin move in. We had another cousin upstairs. We used to just get beatings all the time. So I guess the beatings weren't affecting us. Right. So my parents ordered a whip. We found out it was a whip that they beat donkeys with. They had like a brown handle and like 3 latches.
Oh, that's next level.
It came from Haiti. So the day it came in the mail, we saw this brown wrapping. We was like, the whip's here. Oh God. He was like, we need a whip for it. It was like, Don. So we're feeling around the paper. We was like, that's the whip. That's it. Wow. First beating came. My mom swung it. Blow! It broke. Everybody was like, wow! My mom triumphed. We beat the whip. Yo, my mom, she had to start laughing. The beating like got squashed. Right. She just started laughing. She was like, yo, I hate y'all, man.
My dad had the belt, sand belt. And so he would make you walk the walk to go get the belt. Right. And that's what the most like anxious part of it was, because you'd be like, I gotta go get the belt. And it was hella thick. Like, I don't even think they make belts that thick anymore. And he had the sand like gold buckle. So the worst thing that you had to worry about was whether he would swing it so wild that the sand part would actually hit you, because you know you're going to spill some blood at that point. So anything that you could do to avoid getting in trouble was the goal.
And he used to ask us who did it. Right. No one would tell. Maybe because we didn't know, but then we would say, when he used to leave the room, we'd say, come on, if you did it, just say it. Right. Just say it. Come on, I gotta get hit with you. Say it.
And the one thing he used to say, one thing I hate is liars.
Let me ask y'all a question. Do you find yourself, with everything that you learned at Virginia State, do you find yourself applying that in your business, in your work, in your life, with your families, and just being a parent and just being a working professional?
So Dr. Kathy Stitz was the person over the School of Business. Freshman year, she took me under her wing. We still communicate to today. Right. That whole family thing there. So understanding like this older generation teaching the younger ones, but in this like caring way. So I try to apply that as much as possible. Right. Simply based on like the treatment I got from her. And of course, after that, you see it in everybody that you encounter. Like there's this genuine care, this genuine like, I'm looking out for you, for you to do better.
I would say one thing I took from Virginia State is, family is blood, yes, as they say, but the family you chose from Virginia State, I learned how to help my son incorporate that with his friendship. Because as I told him, I said, I have friends now I met from since 93 to now, and it's like I consider them family. That's right. And the relationships that we have with each other is very genuine. So try to do that with your friends you meet now, and he is so far.
Yeah, same for me. Family, and also I would say pride in school and pride in the friendships that you did make and keep. Right, still friends with these 2 guys plus others from my time here. Right, things that I don't know that I would have been able to get from the PWI. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I would definitely say more or less what they said. Also, being able to multitask, being able to read a person and recognize who's a real person and who's not, who's genuine and who's going to actually bring value into your life. So any staff that I hire, they're typically connected to somebody I know, or it's somebody who knows somebody that makes a recommendation to me. Right. Because I base my organization on quality and providing, quality services to the people in the community. And if you're not on that time, you're not on that vibe, then you can't work for me. Right. So that whole mindset is all about, of course, without for the excellence and making sure that everything is done at a certain level. And if it's not on that same level, then we can't be in the same space in terms of, my work setting and stuff like that.
Virginia State, I think, for all of us, we Gen X babies understood that when we came to state and that we were here for 4 years, sitting on that wall, we bridged these relationships and these basic, like you said, family. We family, and then when I go home, it's like I find myself applying so much that I learned at Virginia State into like my business, raising my family, my kids, and just really helping them and teaching. My hope is that a lot of these kids that are in school here now are still developing that friendship and that relationship.
It's different.
I say it's harder because of social media. They're always on their phones and imagine if they took away
communicating. Right.
Imagine if they took away the internet. Right. And the phones for a week to a month. Right. How much closer they'll be.
Our social media was the wall.
Well, listen, 3 of us have kids here, and our kids don't talk. Our kids don't drive home together. How many times have we driven to New York together?
All drove.
I got the minivan for that reason.
Buses together. There's a couple of kids. I'm like, you know how many legacies are here, and they have no clue who each other is.
My son and my daughter are here together. Ask me how many times they've been around each other. They communicate via social media more than anything else, and if anything else, they won't even reach out and connect. I'm like, how are both of y'all on the same campus at the same time?
That's a problem.
What's going on?
The problem is, I didn't even cut you off. The problem is this. The hope is that none of our kids sleep with each other. Then you can ask my girlfriend. That's so-and-so's daughter. Trust me, it probably has happened and nobody knows. Until you come back, you're like, yo, what's popping?
Is that dumb?
Right. Have y'all seen any changes in the school? Like, I come to homecoming all the time, but of course, like, we just talked about the students, but like, how much have you seen change with state and where it's going?
It's a lot.
The price has increased. It's keeping
your parent.
It's keeping up with other PWIs, HBCUs. The recognition is also improving. See a lot of. I like the slogan. Greater happens here, and it does.
Definitely the direction of a lot of quality buildings. The certifications that Virginia State has received, at least since we left. I mean, it gives you pride in coming here. The fact that we were the only HBCU selected for the debate is big.
It is huge. It's huge. I love the fact that, and I was talking to somebody yesterday at the Mass Comm Symposium. We were talking about, and I used to say this thing about the graduating class. Like, when people talk about Howard, they're just like, you go up there, it's like celebrityism at homecoming. But for me, I and all those schools can probably say this, but I was like, Virginia State is next. Like, you got your Rob Morgans, or you have so many people that are doing things in the medical field, in the political field. Like, one of our chapter brothers is running for senator. You know what I mean? And then we got deltas that are on Capitol Hill. And to me, Virginia State is next level. We got to keep upgrading our brand, who we are. Gen X, we have no problem. I don't know what the current generations are doing, but I know they're looking at us now. They're looking at our generation. And what is next? Because our brains are still in homecoming.
Look, even you talk about VSU. We've been knowing each other almost 30 years.
30 years.
We're celebrating Corojo's 30-year anniversary in April. You asked us to do this thing, just hey, can y'all do this? And it was like, yes, there's nothing else needed.
Which I appreciate too, man.
Nothing else needed. A lot of love still carries through.
And that transfers over, because when I talk to my friends who didn't go to HBCUs, when you talk about going to homecoming, that's not even what it is. Like, why would I go back?
I haven't seen them. We were talking about homecoming at I work at BBC at nights. I'm a true foreigner. It's like 80 jobs, right? So we're talking, and one of the British anchors was sitting there. She's like, and what is this homecoming that y'all are talking about? It was me and this Bison from Howard, and we was explaining to her, like, we were talking about, the hanging the party, seeing your friends and coming back. She was like, wow, I would love to experience that. Now there's nothing like HBCU. Nothing like the friendships coming to home. Have y'all missed homecomings, or have you been to every homecoming, or how many homecomings can you count on?
I think I missed maybe a couple of them.
Count of your hands, though.
I can count on my hands. I can count on my hands and missing a couple.
Well, look, I just want to say, go ahead. You want to say something good?
So my daughter went to Ghana with VSU on some exchange program, and she said while in Ghana she saw people from Virginia State.
That's wild.
Like, recognized them, came up and spoke to them. I said VSU is everywhere. Everywhere you go, you're gonna see VSU.
Everywhere. All the way in Ghana. That's why I like whenever I see Rob and he's doing something, he on the red carpet, you will see him with VSU on. It does not fail. But look, man, I want to congratulate y'all on y'all plot after y'all saw our plot. And then you got your plot. But we talked about it over the week before we came down. We said this is what the standard of Virginia State should always be. Yes, we did something really dope. We was happy when we found that y'all had a better plot. We was like, we got to upgrade the standard of Virginia State. People are understanding the excellence of our fraternities and who we are and what we represent, because they won't know. If they just see like paint, now they're going to come around and somebody's going to inquired like about a founder. So kudos to y'all on that.
Appreciate it.
And I think that's another thing about VSU. Like the fraternal energy here has always been
family.
collaborative.
Bro, do y'all remember the arguments on the Panhandle Council? We would argue. It was always a fighting discussion, but we would leave out, and everybody would be good. We'd be at a party. It's like, you know, one of the summer parties. I can't remember if it was in Crote. I can't remember where it was. All of D9. Remember that we was in there? That was the time Zia, don't be mad, she was yelling at a fish in the fishbowl. We were so drunk. And don't judge me, I was up in a teddy bear on the bar. Y'all remember that part? There was so much going on in that house. But Joe, man, the love and family that we have in Virginia State is like endless, man. It goes on forever. I appreciate y'all on my heart coming on Istwa. Any glowing words, giving words you want to give to students, and just coming from the Beta Gamma perspective or just the Caribbean perspective on how they should be living their life?
I would say embrace your experience here at Virginia State.
For sure.
Make sure that you're getting out and you're actually indulging in activities. Make sure that you're connecting with folks, because these 4 years, they go fast. They can go slow if you actually just sit in your room and you don't do anything. So you need to fully embrace, and because this is the opportunity where you're actually going to evolve into the person you're going to become as an adult. So take advantage of those opportunities to go to parties, go to games. I wish I actually went to a lot more games. I think I've only gone to a handful of games
me too.
across all sports when I was here, and that's one of the biggest regrets that I had. So I would say fully embrace the opportunity to connect and engage in different discussions with folks, so that when you progress into your career, all of these connections that you had can actually be something fruitful potentially for yourself.
Well said.
I mean, echoing what Chad said, he said it all. Just connect, engage, and get to know your fellow Trojans. Get to know your fellow Trojans, because you'll see them somewhere and you'll be able to make that phone call in the future. So definitely engage and get to connect with your fellow Trojans.
Agreed. Same. You know, my thing is, I always tell my son, presentation is key. So be careful how you walk out of your house. You know, not because you have dreads or
you're representing the brand.
Yeah, you're representing, you know, the brand of Virginia State. So, you know, presentation is key, and, you know, develop quality friendship. Those friendship turns into family.
It lasts forever.
Because I look at each and every one of y'all like family for real.
True.
Go to the bookstore, buy as much Nelia VSU paraphernalia as possible when it's on sale, and put the cell phones down every now and then.
Spoken like a true father. When it's on sale.
When it's on sale.
Look for the sale rack.
It's the same thing. Get it on clearance.
Yo, I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for your words, your wisdom, the conversations about growing up. You know, one, like I said, I didn't know he was half Dominican. Now I do.
I didn't know
what I'm saying? Yeah, lies. No.
And I didn't know you were from New York.
Huh?
I didn't know you was from New York. I
Upstate.
was from Jersey.
So upstate New York, Nyack, Spring Valley is where we were born, and then we were raised in Jersey. But we used to go back up to Spring Valley, Nyack, like every weekend. Haitians on the weekends, they take you to visit people. You ain't have your weekends. Your weekends you go visit family. So we were always driving up this highway all the way up to upstate, bored, but we had patties on the way back. So it wasn't my thing. You know what I'm saying? But look, thank y'all. Thank you, Virginia State. Thank you, WVST. Thank you, Jennifer Williamson. Thank you, Faith. My trustee, she's not even an intern. She's just part of the Napoleon Complex crew. And before I leave, on every show, every Istwa means storytelling. If I didn't tell y'all that, it means storytelling in my native Haitian tongue. But every time you speak on the show, you're officially a storyteller. So it's on camera that you'll be receiving a storyteller beanie or a hat. So I already know what y'all want. One of y'all want one of these.
Exactly.
You know, so you want a hat. Yeah, match that outfit. Just text me and remind me which one it is, and I'll make sure y'all get it in about a week or two. Thank you. Happy homecoming. Enjoy yourself here. Be safe.
Be safe.
Go State.
Go State.
Go. So do you think that you are in the light of any of your parents? It's a rhetorical question because I used to look at my dad's wallet. It was a fat wallet, right? So the whole time I'm like, I'm not gonna have my wallet. It's not gonna look crazy. My wallet, if I pull it out now, it looks just like his wallet. And I'm saying that because like we look at our parents, right, and growing up, and like we're in light of some of our parents. Do y'all feel like you're similar to your parents?
I watch my father wash dishes. Gets on my nerves because he will lean over the sink and put his head on the cabinet above the sink. And he'll just be there. And then I noticed myself doing that one day.
Is that crazy?